Hi, are you preparing to take the Praxis Teaching Reading elementary exam that is test code 5205? If so, then this video should help. My name's Mary, and I'm a certified teacher and test prep expert with Study.com. Today, we are going to be working through a few general questions from this exam, specifically related to assessment and instructional decision making. So if you're ready, let's jump on in. Question 1. Students in second grade have completed mid-year standardized reading assessments. Which of the following demonstrates how to use the assessment data to guide individual instruction? A. Used to create flexible reading groups for literacy stations. B. Used to communicate with parents of struggling readers the importance of reading at home. C. Used to schedule more frequent individual reading conferences for students who have scored lower on mid-year reading assessments. Or D. Used to assign leveled novel studies for reading groups. The question specifies that it's asking about how to use this data to guide instruction with individual students, which helps us eliminate quite a few answers. A. Using the data to create flexible reading groups for literacy stations is using the data for instruction, but it's more focused on group instruction rather than individuals. And so we can realize that this one is incorrect. D. Using the data to assign leveled novel studies for reading groups is also focused on ability groupings of students rather than individual students, and is also incorrect. B. Communicating with parents of struggling readers is also incorrect because it doesn't address student instruction at all. Finally, C. Using assessment data to schedule one-on-one conferences with students who are struggling is one way to individualize reading instruction. So this is correct because the teacher is using the data to identify which students are struggling and then modifying instruction so that he or she is able to meet with them at an appropriate frequency to help with improving literacy skills. Now on to question 2. A 5th grade class takes an online reading assessment 3 times a year, beginning, middle, and end of the year. This assessment provides scale scores and reading levels to students. Which of the following tasks can best assist with involving students in the assessment process? A. Have students compare their scores with other students. B. Have students share their scores with their parents or guardians. C. Have students discuss the questions that they missed with a peer. Or D. Have students create a growth goal for the next administration. Some of these answers can be eliminated fairly easily. A. Having students compare their scores with other students not only doesn't involve them in the assessment process, but is also problematic for student privacy. So that one is incorrect. B. Having students share their scores with their parents or guardians may be a good idea, but doesn't necessarily involve them in the assessment process, so that is also incorrect. C. Having students discuss the questions that they missed with a peer is closer, but is still not the best answer. D. Having the students create a growth goal for the next administration of the test is the best answer. A growth goal is wonderful because it requires self-reflection and students assessing their own learning and understanding. And this involves them in the assessment process. There are a lot of different ways that you could set this up. You could have them create a graph, for instance, so that they have a visual of their progress from one assessment to the other. But what's most important here is that this allows them to reflect on their performance and establish how they think they might perform in the future. Question 3. Mrs. Simon's 4th grade class is solving multi-step problems in math class. Several students in her math class are identified as students with processing deficits, and Mrs. Simon knows that her students do not do well when they are overwhelmed with many steps at one time. Which of the following techniques would be the best for Mrs. Simon to implement so that her math students can succeed? A. Redirecting. B. Teaming. C, chunking, or D, rereading. Before we look at the other options, let's consider what Mrs. Simon knows already about her students. Some have processing deficits, and they get overwhelmed by having many steps at one time. A, redirecting to the task at hand is unlikely to help students process or feel less overwhelmed when presented with multiple steps. B, teaming or working in teams is also unlikely to fix the sense of overwhelm. And D, rereading is also less than likely to help students process the problem at hand. C, chunking is a very effective strategy here and is correct. Chunking is breaking down a text, or in this case, a multi-step equation, into more manageable steps or chunks. There are many ways that you can chunk. Mrs. Simon could chunk the text visually by breaking the question down into short paragraphs with a step on each line, or she could set up the question to have students complete one step of the multi-step equation at a time. Either way, these students will benefit from this technique, since they will not be as overwhelmed with too many questions or directions at the same time. Question 4. An elementary teacher has just analyzed running records for an entire class. The running records indicate that a small group of students are struggling with comprehension at their instructional level. Which of the following best describes how to use the information from running records to inform instruction? A, moving forward with classroom lessons knowing that these students will eventually begin to comprehend. B, providing the small group of students with easier reading. C, reteaching specific comprehension strategies during small group instructional time with those students. Or D, reteaching specific comprehension strategies to the whole class. So the question here is asking about how to best use the teacher's records to inform instruction. A, moving forward with classroom lessons and hoping that students will eventually begin to comprehend is incorrect, as it doesn't make use of the instructional records at all. B, providing the small group of students with easier reading is also incorrect, because although the teacher is using the data, they aren't really using it to inform instruction and help students remediate their learning gaps. C and D are pretty similar, but they are slightly different. Both focus on reteaching specific comprehension strategies, but C focuses on simply the students who are struggling, while D focuses on the whole class. C, reteaching specific comprehension strategies to the students who are struggling, is the best way to use running records to inform instruction. The teacher here is allowing the records to inform instruction by providing the students who actually need the instruction with the extra support, while not reteaching students who have shown mastery over those skills. I hope that this video was helpful. If you're looking for more ways to study, be sure to head over to our channel or to study.com. Be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.